Montana Territory, 1887. The late autumn wind slashed across the barren plains, sending dust devils dancing across the horizon as the stagecoach rattled toward Whitewater Creek. Inside, Benjamin Irwin gripped his medical bag, the leather worn from years of service. At 35, his face carried the weathered lines of a man who'd seen too much death during the war between the states. His once pristine collar had wilted in the heat, and his vest bore the stains of a 3-day journey. "Doctor, you sure about settling in Whitewater?" The driver called back through the window. "Town's barely hanging on since the silver mine dried up." Benjamin adjusted his spectacles. "A doctor goes where he's needed, Mr. Hobbs. And from your letter, Whitewater needs one desperately." The stagecoach crested a hill, revealing a settlement nestled against the foothills. Whitewater Creek was a humble collection of wooden buildings straddling the main street. A general store, saloon, small church, and scattered homes. Not the Denver practice he'd left behind, but after losing his wife Sarah to consumption 2 years prior, Benjamin couldn't bear the memories haunting every corner of their home. As the stagecoach rolled down Main Street, Benjamin noticed a commotion outside the Mercantile. Sheriff Owen Davis, a stocky man with a salt and pepper mustache, was confronting a young woman. Her dress was threadbare, and though she stood straight-backed, something in her posture suggested exhaustion. "Miss, I've asked you 3 times now. What's your name and business in Whitewater?" The sheriff's voice carried across the dusty street. The woman clutched a small bundle to her chest. "I meant no trouble, sir. I was just looking for work." The stagecoach halted before the town's only hotel, and Benjamin descended, stretching his legs. Curiosity and professional habit drew him toward the confrontation. "You can't just wander into town with no references, no name even," the sheriff continued. "These are decent folk here." The woman's face flushed. Benjamin noticed her honey-brown hair escaping a simple bun and the intelligent alertness in her eyes despite her evident fatigue. "Sheriff," Benjamin interjected, approaching with his medical bag. "I couldn't help overhearing. I'm Dr. Benjamin Irwin, just arrived to take over Dr. Miller's practice." Sheriff Davis's demeanor softened. "Doc, we've been expecting you. Town's been without proper medical care for months." Benjamin nodded but kept his attention on the woman. Up close, he could see the subtle trembling in her hands, the pallor beneath her sun-touched complexion. "And this is," he prompted. The sheriff sighed. "That's what I'm trying to ascertain. Document found her sleeping in the livery this morning. No luggage except that bundle, no identification." The woman lifted her chin. "I told the truth. I came looking for honest work. I can cook, clean, tend to children or elderly." Benjamin studied her. Beneath the dirt of travel, her features were refined, her speech educated. There was a story here, one she wasn't telling. "I could use a housekeeper," Benjamin heard himself say, surprising both the sheriff and himself. "The doctor's residence has been empty for months, according to your letter, Sheriff. I imagine it needs considerable attention before it's habitable." The sheriff frowned. "Doc, you don't know anything about this woman." "I know she needs work, and I need help." Benjamin turned to the woman. "A fair wage for fair work, miss?" For a moment, uncertainty flickered across her face. "Lillian," she said finally. "Lillian Montgomery." Something in her eyes told Benjamin the name was a fabrication, but he merely nodded. "Well, Miss Montgomery, if the sheriff has no formal reason to detain you, I'd like to offer you temporary employment." The sheriff hesitated, then relented. "Your reputation preceded you, document. If you're willing to take responsibility for her, I'll not interfere. But," he added, fixing Lillian with a stern gaze, "any trouble, and it's the next stage out of Whitewater." Benjamin collected his trunk from the stagecoach and led Lillian toward the doctor's residence at the edge of town. The 2-story clapboard house had weathered many Montana winters, its white paint peeling like old bandages. Inside, dust shrouded the furniture, and the air hung stale and heavy. Benjamin set down his trunk in the front parlor, which doubled as a waiting room for patients. "It's not much," he admitted, "but it's sound. The examination room is through there, kitchen at the back, and upstairs are the bedrooms." Lillian stood just inside the doorway, her bundle clutched to her chest. Now, in better light, Benjamin could see bruises fading on her wrists. "Miss Montgomery," he said gently, "I meant what I said about fair work for fair wages. You'll have the small bedroom upstairs, meals provided, and Sundays free if you wish them. In return, I ask for cooking, cleaning, and perhaps assistance with patients when needed. Does that sound acceptable? She nodded, still hesitant. Why would you help a stranger, Dr. Irwin? Benjamin removed his hat, revealing sandy brown hair streaked with premature gray. Because we're all strangers somewhere, until we're not. He gestured toward the kitchen. There should be a pump in the back. I'll fetch wood for the stove while you see what's salvageable in the pantry. As Benjamin stepped outside to the woodpile, he questioned his impulsiveness. Taking in a nameless woman was hardly conventional, especially for the town's new physician. But something in her eyes, a dignified desperation, had stirred memories of his own darkest days after Sarah's death. By nightfall, they had managed to make the kitchen and one bedroom habitable. Lillian had discovered dried beans, flour, and coffee in the pantry and prepared a simple but satisfying meal. They ate in relative silence, the ticking of the old clock on the mantel the only conversation. I should see to your room, Lillian said, rising to collect the dishes. There's time for that tomorrow, Benjamin replied. You're exhausted, Miss Montgomery. Take my room tonight. I'll manage on the parlor sofa. She started to protest, but Benjamin raised a hand. Doctor's orders. You're running a low fever and showing signs of malnutrition and exhaustion. Rest is the prescription. Something like gratitude flickered in her eyes before she nodded and retreated upstairs. Benjamin settled on the sofa, his mind turning over the mystery that had literally appeared on his doorstep his first day in Whitewater Creek. The following days established a rhythm. Benjamin reopened the doctor's practice, seeing everything from mining injuries to childhood fevers. Lillian proved herself industrious and intelligent, transforming the dusty house into a home with minimal resources. She assisted him with patients when needed, displaying a surprising knowledge of medicinal herbs and basic medical procedures. They maintained a polite distance, though Benjamin found himself increasingly aware of her presence. The soft humming as she worked, the thoughtful way she arranged wildflowers on the kitchen table, her quiet dignity that seemed at odds with her mysterious circumstances. 2 weeks after her arrival, Benjamin returned from a difficult childbirth to find Lillian asleep at the kitchen table, a half-mended shirt in her lap. A strand of hair had fallen across her cheek, and in sleep, the wariness that usually guarded her features had softened. Benjamin resisted the urge to brush the hair from her face. Instead, he gently touched her shoulder. Lillian. She startled awake, instinctively shrinking back, fear flashing in her eyes before recognition dawned. Forgive me, she said, straightening. I meant to wait up. There's stew keeping warm. You've nothing to apologize for. Benjamin sat across from her, studying her face. Lillian, I've respected your privacy these past weeks, but I'm asking now as your employer and as a physician, are you in some kind of trouble? Her hands stilled on the mending. For a long moment, she was silent, then, yes. But not the kind the sheriff would concern himself with. I've broken no laws. Are you running from someone who hurt you? Benjamin asked quietly, remembering the bruises. She met his gaze directly. My husband died 6 months ago. His brother believed I should become his wife afterward, as is custom in some places. When I refused, he made it clear I had no choice. Understanding dawned. So you fled, with nothing but the clothes on my back and my wedding ring to sell for passage. Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled slightly. My husband's family is influential in Colorado territory. They've likely put out word I'm mentally unwell, claiming I stole family heirlooms. And did you? A ghost of a smile touched her lips. Only what was rightfully mine, my mother's locket and my dignity. Her expression sobered. I gave a false name because I feared being found. I'll understand if you wish me to leave now. Benjamin considered her words carefully. Your true name? Laura. Laura Markham. She squared her shoulders as if preparing for judgment. Well, Laura Markham, your secret is safe with me. Benjamin reached across the table, hesitating before covering her hand with his own. And you have a place here as long as you need one. The gratitude in her eyes stirred something in Benjamin's chest that had been dormant since Sarah's death, a protective warmth that both comforted and alarmed him. Winter descended on Whitewater Creek with a vengeance. Snow blanketed the town, and Benjamin's practice grew busier with cold weather ailments. Laura proved invaluable, not only managing the household but assisting with patients. Her knowledge of herbal remedies complemented Benjamin's formal medical training, and together they saved a child from pneumonia when conventional treatments failed. The townspeople gradually accepted Laura's presence, though speculation about her relationship with the doctor provided endless fodder for gossip. Benjamin ignored the whispers, focusing instead on his growing practice and the unexpected contentment he found in their domestic arrangement. On Christmas Eve, Benjamin returned from delivering Mrs. Patterson's baby to find the house transformed. Pine boughs decorated the mantel, paper snowflakes hung from the ceiling, and the scent of gingerbread perfumed the air. Laura greeted him with flushed cheeks and flour-dusted hands. "I hope you don't mind. I found some decorations in the attic, and Mrs. Wilson from the mercantile gave me cinnamon and molasses in exchange for that cough remedy." Benjamin stood transfixed in the doorway, struck by the simple beauty of the scene, and of Laura herself, with her hair loosened from its usual severe bun, her eyes bright with anticipation. "It's wonderful," he said finally, his voice rougher than intended. "I haven't celebrated Christmas since Sarah." Laura's expression softened. "Your wife?" Benjamin nodded, removing his snow-dusted coat. "She loved Christmas. Used to decorate every corner of our house in Denver." "I'm sorry," Laura said quietly. "If this brings painful memories—" "No," Benjamin interrupted, surprising himself with his vehemence. "No, it's right somehow. Sarah wouldn't have wanted Christmas forgotten." That evening, they shared a simple feast by lamplight. Benjamin presented Laura with a pair of sturdy leather gloves lined with rabbit fur. "Your hands are always cold," he explained, suddenly self-conscious. Laura's eyes glistened as she slipped them on. "They're perfect." She hesitated, then withdrew a small package from her apron pocket. "It isn't much." Benjamin unwrapped the gift to find a hand-knitted scarf in deep blue wool. "When did you find time to make this?" "During those long evenings when you were reading your medical journals," she replied with a small smile. "You need something between your neck and this Montana wind." Their fingers brushed as he accepted the gift, and neither pulled away immediately. Something unspoken passed between them, a current of understanding that transcended their formal employer-employee relationship. The moment was broken by an urgent pounding on the front door. Benjamin reluctantly rose to answer it, finding young Tommy Wilson, the mercantile owner's son, breathless and wide-eyed. "Doc, come quick. There's been an accident at Miller's farm. The ice broke on the pond, and Mr. Miller fell through trying to save his dog." Benjamin grabbed his medical bag. "Laura, prepare hot water bottles and blankets. We'll bring him here if he's transportable." The emergency kept them busy until dawn. Miller survived, though frostbite claimed 2 of his toes. As Laura finally retired to her room on Christmas morning, exhausted but satisfied, Benjamin watched her go with the sudden, clear realization that she had become essential to him, not just as a housekeeper or assistant, but as a companion he couldn't imagine being without. The realization both exhilarated and terrified him. January brought the harshest weather in living memory. Snowdrifts buried fences, and temperatures plummeted so low that mercury froze in thermometers. The town turned inward, conserving resources and checking on neighbors. Benjamin and Laura worked tirelessly, treating frostbite and delivering supplies to those too frail to venture out. Their evenings settled into comfortable routine, Laura knitting or mending by the fire while Benjamin read aloud from his books. Sometimes they discussed cases or debated medical theories, Laura's practical knowledge complementing Benjamin's formal education. Other times they simply sat in companionable silence, the howling wind outside making their snug kitchen feel like the safest place in the world. It was during one such evening that Laura suddenly stiffened, her knitting forgotten in her lap. "Benjamin," she said, using his given name for the first time. "Someone's watching the house." Benjamin followed her gaze to the window, where a shadowy figure quickly ducked from view. "Probably just someone needing a doctor," he said, though unease prickled his spine. "I'll check." He returned moments later, frowning. No one there, but fresh footprints in the snow, too large to be a child's. Laura's face had drained of color. "He's found me." "Your brother-in-law? Here? That's not possible. He has resources, connections." Laura's hands twisted in her lap. "I should leave before I bring trouble to your door." Benjamin crossed to her chair, kneeling before her. "Laura, look at me." He waited until she met his gaze. "You are not alone in this anymore. Do you understand? Whatever comes, we will face it together." Something shifted in her expression, fear giving way to a tentative hope. Impulsively, Benjamin took her hands in his. They were ice-cold despite the fire's warmth. "I won't let anyone hurt you," he promised, the intensity of his feelings surprising even himself. For a breathless moment, they remained thus, the crackling fire and the wind's mournful howl the only sounds in the room. Then Laura gently withdrew her hands. "Thank you," she whispered, "but I won't risk your safety, your reputation in this town." Before Benjamin could respond, a sharp knock at the door startled them both. Laura tensed, but Benjamin squeezed her shoulder reassuringly before answering. Sheriff Davis stood on the porch, snow crusting his mustache. "Evening, document, sorry to trouble you, but we've got a stranger in town asking questions about a woman matching Miss Montgomery's description. Says he's searching for his deceased brother's wife, who ran off with family heirlooms." Benjamin's jaw tightened. "Is that so? Thought you should know," the sheriff continued, studying Benjamin's face. "Man staying at the hotel. Name's Clayton Markham. Says his sister-in-law is unstable." Behind him, Benjamin heard Laura's sharp intake of breath. "Thank you for the warning, Sheriff," Benjamin said evenly. "If I see anyone matching that description, I'll be sure to let you know." The sheriff hesitated. "Doc, this town respects you. Whatever's between you and Miss Montgomery, or whoever she is, folks are inclined to mind their own business. But this Markham fellow, he's got papers. Legal documents." "I understand." Benjamin nodded grimly. "Good night, Sheriff." After closing the door, Benjamin turned to find Laura already gathering her few possessions. "I'll go tonight," she said, voice strained but determined. "The evening stage, no." Benjamin's voice was firm. "That's exactly what he expects. We need to think this through." "There's nothing to think through. Clayton won't stop. He sees me as his property." Her hands trembled as she folded a shawl. "I won't put you in the position of harboring a fugitive." "You're not a fugitive, Laura. You're a widow who refused to be claimed like inheritance." Benjamin took the shawl from her hands. "I have an idea, but you need to trust me." Laura searched his face, conflict evident in her eyes. "I do trust you," she said finally. "More than I've trusted anyone since Thomas died." "Then listen carefully." The following morning, Benjamin called on Clayton Markham at the hotel. The man was everything Laura had described. Handsome in a cold way, impeccably dressed, with eyes that calculated rather than observed. "Dr. Irwin," Clayton greeted him with false warmth. "I understand you're new to Whitewater Creek. I trust you're finding it hospitable." "Very much so," Benjamin replied pleasantly. "I understand you're looking for someone." Clayton's smile didn't reach his eyes. "My sister-in-law, Laura. My poor brother's widow. She suffered a breakdown after his death, took some valuable family pieces. We've been frantic with worry." "How unfortunate," Benjamin commiserated. "And you tracked her all the way to Whitewater?" A drummer passing through Denver mentioned seeing a woman of her description boarding a northbound stage. It was a slim lead, but family is worth any effort. Wouldn't you agree, Doctor? Benjamin nodded thoughtfully. "Absolutely. That's actually why I've come to see you. There was a woman matching your sister-in-law's description here briefly in November. Called herself Lillian Montgomery. She worked for me temporarily before continuing north toward Canada." Clayton's eyes narrowed slightly. "Did she now? And you didn't think to report this to authorities?" "She broke no laws in Whitewater Creek," Benjamin replied smoothly. "And she mentioned heading to her cousin's in Victoria. Said something about booking passage on a steamer from Seattle." Clayton studied Benjamin, suspicion clear in his gaze. "How convenient. And you're certain she's no longer in Whitewater?" "Left weeks ago," Benjamin confirmed. "But if you'd like to verify with Sheriff Davis, I believe he recorded her departure on the December 3rd stage to Helena." The mention of official records seemed to give Clayton pause. He drummed his fingers on the table. "I see. Most helpful, Doctor. Though I find it curious she'd confide her plans to a temporary employer." Benjamin shrugged. "People often confide in their physicians, Mr. Markham. Something about the relationship inspires trust." He rose to leave. "I hope you find her well. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have patients waiting." Clayton's voice stopped him at the door. "One moment, Doctor. Did she leave anything behind? Letters, perhaps? Personal effects?" "I'm afraid not," Benjamin replied, meeting the man's gaze steadily. "Nothing at all." As Benjamin walked back through the snowy street, he felt Clayton's eyes on his back. The man hadn't believed him, That much was clear. But the seed of doubt had been planted. Would it be enough? Laura was waiting anxiously when Benjamin returned, her face pale with tension. "He didn't believe you," she said immediately, reading his expression. "Not entirely," Benjamin admitted. "But he can't prove otherwise without searching every home in Whitewater, and Sheriff Davis won't permit that without cause." Laura paced the kitchen. "Clayton won't give up easily. He's not just after me. He wants my mother's jewelry. Thomas gave me her locket before he died, said it was rightfully mine regardless of family tradition. It's valuable, but more than that, it's the symbol of my independence." Benjamin caught her hands, stilling her nervous movement. "Laura, do you trust me?" She nodded without hesitation. "Then marry me." Laura stared at him, shock evident in her widened eyes. "What? Marry me?" Benjamin repeated, his voice steadier than his hammering heart. "As my wife? You'd have legal protection Clayton couldn't easily overcome. And when he discovers you're still here, he'd have to prove his claims against a respected town physician and his lawfully wedded wife." "Benjamin, you can't be serious. Marriage it's not something to enter into as a legal maneuver. Is that what you think this is?" Benjamin asked softly. "Laura, these past months with you, I've come alive again. After Sarah died, I thought that part of me was gone forever. But your strength, your intelligence, your compassion, you've awakened feelings I never expected to have again." Laura's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "You can't mean that." "I do." Benjamin took a deep breath. "I love you, Laura Markham. I think I have almost from the beginning. I'm not proposing just to protect you, though God knows I want to. I'm proposing because I can't imagine my life without you in it." A tear slipped down Laura's cheek. "Benjamin, my situation is complicated. Clayton won't simply disappear." "I know." Benjamin wiped away her tear with his thumb. "And we'll face that together. But first, I need to know, do you have any feelings for me beyond gratitude or friendship?" Laura's gaze dropped to their joined hands, then lifted to meet his eyes with newfound resolve. "When Thomas died, I thought I'd never feel safe or whole again. But here, with you, I've found more than safety. I've found purpose, partnership." Her voice softened. "And yes, love. I love you, Benjamin. But I'm afraid. Of Clayton. Of losing you because of him. Of bringing danger to your door." Benjamin smiled, his heart lighter than it had been in years. "Laura Markham, I survived Antietam and Gettysburg as a field surgeon. I've faced cholera outbreaks and blizzards. Your brother-in-law doesn't frighten me." A small, reluctant smile curved Laura's lips. "You're either very brave or very foolish, Dr. Irwin." "Perhaps both," he conceded. "But I'm also very certain. Marry me, Laura. Not just for protection, but because we belong together." Laura's smile bloomed fully then, transforming her face. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I'll marry you." They were wed 3 days later in the small Whitewater Creek church, with Reverend Jenkins officiating and Sheriff Davis and his wife as witnesses. Laura wore a simple blue dress that Benjamin had commissioned from the town seamstress, and Benjamin wore his best suit, freshly pressed. As they exchanged vows, Benjamin felt a profound sense of rightness, as if his life had been leading to this moment. When he slipped his mother's ring onto Laura's finger, sent for by telegraph from his sister in Denver, the look of wonder in Laura's eyes told him she felt it too. They had scarcely returned to the doctor's residence, their home now, truly, when Sheriff Davis arrived with grim news. "That Markham fellow's been asking questions all over town," he reported, "offering money for information about Lillian Montgomery. He's not buying your story about her heading to Canada. Document." Benjamin nodded, unsurprised. "Thank you for the warning, Sheriff. And for standing as our witness today." The sheriff glanced between them, his weathered face softening. "Been a lawman long enough to know genuine from pretense. Whatever brought Mrs. Irwin to Whitewater, she's found her place now." He tipped his hat. "Just wanted you to know I'll be keeping an eye on your place tonight. Wedding present, you might say." After the sheriff left, Laura turned to Benjamin, worry creasing her brow. "He knows that you're the woman Clayton's looking for?" "Yes, I believe he does." Benjamin drew her into his arms. "But he's made his choice, and it's to stand with us." Laura rested her forehead against Benjamin's chest. "I never thought I'd find allies, much less a husband who would defend me." Benjamin tilted her chin up. "You are my wife now, Laura Irwin. In every way that matters." Their first kiss as husband and wife was tentative, sweet, a promise of deeper connection to come. When they parted, Laura's eyes were bright with emotion. "What happens now?" she asked. Benjamin smiled. "Now, Mrs. Irwin, we begin our life together. And we face whatever comes, side by side." The confrontation came sooner than expected. The following morning, as Benjamin prepared to make his rounds, Clayton Markham appeared at their door, flanked by two burly men. "Dr. Irwin," Clayton greeted coldly, "I believe you've been harboring my sister-in-law under false pretenses." His gaze shifted to Laura, standing resolute beside Benjamin. "Laura, how predictable that you'd hide behind another man's protection." "Mr. Markham," Benjamin replied evenly, "I believe you're mistaken. This is my wife, Laura Irwin. We were married yesterday by Reverend Jenkins, with Sheriff Davis as witness." Clayton's face flushed with anger. "A hasty ceremony won't negate her prior commitments. Laura was promised to me after my brother's death, as is our family custom, and she has property belonging to the Markham estate." "I have nothing that wasn't rightfully mine," Laura said, her voice steady despite her pallor. "My mother's locket came to me through Thomas, who gave it freely as my husband." "Your husband?" Clayton sneered. "Thomas was weak. He indulged your willfulness instead of properly bringing you to heel." Benjamin stepped forward, positioning himself more fully between Laura and Clayton. "Mr. Markham, I suggest you leave our home immediately. My wife owes you nothing. Not her hand, not her property, and certainly not her freedom." Clayton gestured to his companions. "These men will attest that Laura Markham is mentally unsound, fled her rightful guardian, and stole valuable family heirlooms. I have papers from a Colorado judge, which hold no jurisdiction in Montana territory," interrupted Sheriff Davis, appearing behind the men, "especially against a woman who is now legally married to one of our most respected citizens." Clayton turned, his confidence faltering slightly at the sight of the sheriff's star. "This is a family matter." "No," Laura interjected firmly. "This is about your desire to control what isn't yours to claim. I am not property, Clayton. I was Thomas's wife, not a possession to be handed down." "You ungrateful." Clayton started forward, but Benjamin's hand shot out, gripping his arm with surprising strength. "That's enough," Benjamin said, his voice dangerously quiet. "Sheriff Davis, I believe Mr. Markham is trespassing and threatening my wife. I'd like him removed from our property." The sheriff nodded. "Mr. Markham, I suggest you and your associates return to the hotel and prepare to leave on this afternoon's stage. Whitewater Creek doesn't take kindly to outsiders causing trouble." Clayton glared at them all, calculating his options. Finally, he straightened his coat. "This isn't over. The Markham family has connections beyond this backwater town. Laura, whatever game you're playing, you won't win." "It's not a game, Clayton," Laura replied softly. "It's my life, and I've chosen it freely." As Clayton and his men departed under the sheriff's watchful eye, Benjamin turned to Laura. "Are you all right?" She nodded, though she trembled slightly. "He'll be back, or he'll send others. And we'll be ready," Benjamin assured her, drawing her into his arms. Together, that night, as they retired to their bedroom, no longer separate rooms now that they were truly husband and wife, Laura unpinned her hair, letting it fall in waves down her back. Benjamin watched, entranced by this simple, intimate gesture. "Benjamin," she said softly, "I need to show you something." From a hidden pocket in her dress, she withdrew a locket, gold, set with small diamonds around the border. Opening it, she revealed miniature portraits, a woman with Laura's eyes and smile on one side, a stern-looking man on the other. "My parents," she explained. "This is what Clayton truly wants. The diamonds are valuable, but more than that, it's a symbol of the Markham family's claim on me. My father arranged my marriage to Thomas before he died, a business arrangement between families. Thomas turned out to be kind, nothing like his brother, but still, I was never truly free." Benjamin took the locket, examining it thoughtfully before returning it to Laura's palm and closing her fingers over it. "It's yours. Your history, your choice what to do with it." Laura's eyes glistened. "With you, I feel truly chosen for the first time. Not acquired, not managed. Chosen and cherished." Benjamin cupped her face in his hands. "You are cherished, Laura Irwin. More than I can express." Their kiss deepened, no longer tentative but hungry with newfound freedom and trust. As they came together as husband and wife, the barriers between them dissolved, past hurts healing in the sanctuary they had created together. Clayton Markham left Whitewater Creek the following day, but Benjamin and Laura remained vigilant, knowing his threats weren't idle. They discussed leaving, starting fresh elsewhere, but ultimately decided against it. "Whitewater is our home," Laura declared. "I won't be driven away from the first place I've truly belonged." Spring arrived, melting the snow and bringing new life to the valley. Benjamin's practice thrived, with Laura working alongside him as an unofficial nurse and midwife. Her knowledge of herbal remedies gained such reputation that women from neighboring settlements sought her advice. One evening in May, as they walked along Whitewater Creek, now rushing with snowmelt, Benjamin shared news he'd received by telegraph. Clayton Markham was arrested in Denver, he said, watching Laura's expression carefully. Apparently, his financial dealings weren't entirely ethical. His creditors have seized most of the Markham assets. Laura stopped walking, her hand tightening in Benjamin's. "Truly," Benjamin nodded. "According to my sister, the scandal has destroyed what remained of the family's influence. Whatever threats he made against us, he no longer has the resources to carry them out." Laura's eyes filled with tears, but they were tears of relief. "It's over." "It's over," Benjamin confirmed, drawing her into his arms. "You're free, Laura. Truly free." She laughed, a sound of pure joy that echoed across the water. "I've been free since the day you took a chance on a nameless woman with nowhere to go." As the summer sun began its descent behind the mountains, painting the sky in hues of gold and crimson, Benjamin sealed their new beginning with a kiss. No longer a promise, but a celebration of promises kept and a future secured. "Come, Mrs. Irwin," he said, offering his arm with a smile that reached all the way to his eyes. "Let's go home." Laura took his arm, her step light with newfound security. "Home," she agreed, the word no longer a distant dream but a present reality. "Our home." Together they walked back toward Whitewater Creek, where their house stood with lamplight already glowing in the windows. A beacon of welcome in a world that had once seemed so hostile, now transformed by the simple, powerful act of one kind man taking a chance on love.